Hey everyone, I'm Josh Wolf, managing partner and co-founder of Lux Capital, a venture capital firm that invests in emerging science and technology ventures at the outermost edges of what's possible. And this is our new series, Futura, where we're going to introduce you to the rebels of science and invention who are turning sci-fi into sci-fact. Today we're sitting down with Sean Frayne, CEO and founder of Looking Glass Factory, which is building holographic displays for the future. We'll take you behind the scenes to show you how the company is pioneering full-color 3D holograms without the need for AR or VR goggles or headsets. So when I think about Looking Glass, it reminds me that the gap between sci-fi and sci-fact is always shrinking, and this is straight out of Princess Leia's scene where she is encoding a message in a hologram in Star Wars. What was the inspiration for you to start this?
Yeah, I think Princess Leia, that scene in Star Wars was the inspiration for a lot of folks chasing the dream of the hologram. For me, it was actually the shark that gobbled up Marty McFly in Back to the Future 2. And after that moment, I was hooked on trying to figure out whether or not it was possible to make that dream of the hologram real.
Technologically, this is pretty sophisticated stuff. How does it all come together?
Sure, so the Looking Glass is technically called a light field display with volumetric characteristics. But what that really means is we're producing a multitude of views of a three-dimensional scene every 60th of a second. The Looking Glass itself produces 45 of those views of the three-dimensional scene, sort of in a fan-like arrangement. And the eyes of everyone that's gathered around a Looking Glass are getting exposed to different perspectives of the three-dimensional scene in the Looking Glass. Those are so tight together that you don't perceive any break between them. So it's exceeded that threshold of believability that, by analogy, animation did 100 plus years ago, where it transformed something from a collection of pictures to, once you have more than 12 of them every second, it becomes a movie.
Now, the near-term use cases, I've seen some incredible artwork and real creative genius that has been expressed through this medium. What are some of the use cases that you've been most excited about in the near term?
So around 30% or so of users who are starting to create different content in their own Looking Glasses over really just the last couple months. 30% of those users are creating something that we in the team think of as the software robot or the holographic avatar. In some cases, that's an avatar software robot that you can interact with in some way, speak to, and in some cases, folks are experimenting with adding voice AI to those software robots that run in their Looking Glasses.
Help me imagine the far-out applications. We've talked about being able to sit together in a room and actually see the pitch on a soccer field or a football field and watching the game there just out of, again, Star Wars. What are some of the fanciful far-out potentials of this?
So we have a lab in Hong Kong. That's where we do our hardware. And we have a lab here in Brooklyn, down the street in Brooklyn, where we do most of our software development. And we always have a challenge communicating between the two teams. It's near future where we can have a large version of a Looking Glass that fills up a portion of the wall, or maybe the whole wall. And I can holler and say, like, Angus, one of the guys in our hardware team, come on over here. And I see him walking in from the light field fog, and within the Looking Glass range, there he is. And I walk in too, and we have a conversation as if he was really just down the hall, but he's across the world.
So forget about telepresence for robots with like a little two-dimensional screen. It's almost like teleporting into a hollow box that somebody is physically standing there, which would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, this is all physically possible, and we're pushing hard on this. There are already folks in the community that have prototyped real-time communication with their Looking Glasses just over the last month or two, so this is going to happen.
What is the emotional experience that you want a user to have when they sit down in front of a Looking Glass?
Well, the Looking Glass is designed for groups of people without any friction, so you don't have to put on a VR AR headset. You're instantly able to see virtual three-dimensional world right there sitting on your desk with your friends or family or coworkers. The emotional connection that we're aiming for, and I think we've achieved in some cases, is for the hologram that's in the Looking Glass to feel as real as a real object to that group of people. If it's an apple inside, you feel as if you could reach in to the Looking Glass and grab the apple.
Now, at Lux, we love when our scientific founders are these rebels who sort of break the laws of physics, of what conventional wisdom thinks is possible. As you've been developing this, is there something that you have run counter-consensus to? Something where everybody else said that's not possible, and you guys have invented around it?
To make the Looking Glass possible, So there are three things. So the first is folks told us not to enter the display industry at all. Startups don't get into this trillion-dollar race. The second is a lot of folks were entering VR and AR 5 years ago when we started. And I took a lot of calls with folks that said, that's the future. What you're doing in light field and volumetric display isn't it. That's changing now, but that was the consensus at the time. And the third is whether or not a light field display that someone could purchase for under $1,000 was even possible. A lot of the folks who got into VR and AR headset land want the hologram in the way that we imagine the hologram to be this group viewable experience, but they didn't think that that could come to pass in the next 50 years. So we pushed hard against that, and here it is.
Sean, I love the future you're inventing. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, great. Good to see you.
That's it from us today. I want to thank the rebel scientists and inventors at Looking Glass Factory for giving us a sneak peek of the future. And I want to leave you with two scenes from sci-fi films that inspired Sean and us. The first is Back to the Future 2, which is Sean's favorite scene when the holographic shark freaks out Marty outside the Holomax theater. And the second is Iron Man 2. There's a great scene when Tony Stark is manipulating full-color holograms and they come closer to reality than the writers ever imagined. If you want to get in touch with us, reach out at futura@lux.vc. We'd love to hear your crazy ideas and inspirations.